Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to start tapping trees to make maple syrup.
I happen to know everything there is to know about maple syrup. I love maple syrup. I love maple syrup on pancakes. I love it on pizza. I like to take maple syrup and put a little bit in my hair when I've had a rough week. What do you think holds it up, Slick?
Stay tuned to find out how. Okay, so every year around this time, early March or so, I've got a few maple trees in the back behind me, and I like to tap them. And around the end of March, I try to gather up maybe about 25 gallons of sap, and that boils down to a couple quarts of syrup, which is enough to last me pretty much the rest of the year, with a little bit extra to be able to give out. So maybe 3 quarts, maybe just under it never really gives me a gallon. But anyway, so yeah, I make my own maple syrup, and I figured I would show you guys how. So this is some of the gear that you need. We're not going to do the boil yet today, but we'll get the trees tapped. I'll show you how to tap them and how to start collecting that sap. You want this time of year where it's freezing at night. That's why we wait till March, although it's been kind of a weird winter, so a lot of people have been tapping all winter long pretty much. But I wait till March. So essentially, what you're looking for is the time of the year where it's freezing at night, you get some sunny days during the day, and you're above freezing during the day. So we're right around that time right now where we're getting that type of weather. So best time to start collecting when the sugar content's real high in the syrup or in the sap. Okay, so the first thing you need is some type of tap. You can just use a hollow dowel, or people have used bamboo in the past, or just some type of U-shape, something, even a stick, to be honest, sometimes could work if you put a little channel in it. You're basically drilling a hole into kind of the sap layer of the tree, and then this is kind of the conduit to collect that sap and run it out of the tree, out this spout. So this side goes into the tree like that. There's a little notch in the back for the sap to come up, run down, and then it pours out this. There's a hook in the bottom usually, or you could put, other means of doing it, or hang it off the stick if you have a stick. In this case, this one has a hook where the bucket will hang, and it will drip into the bucket. There's a hole up at the top where the lid hinges off of, so when you go to collect your sap, you can hinge this open and not lose your lid, and just take your bucket off and collect that sap. So then you need some type of a bucket to collect the sap in. So this is the bucket that I use. I think it holds, I'm not sure what these are, if these are 2-gallon buckets essentially, but they're just plastic buckets. You can use metal, galvanized steel, whatever you want to use to collect it. I've seen people use milk jugs and things like that, whatever you want to do. So you just need some kind of vessel to collect it in. This one has the hole in the back, that's where the hook hangs, or it hangs off the hook. And then this is the lid. You'll see the hinge in the back. That goes through the tap, kind of hinges down and closes. The reason you want a lid over it, it's to hide or stop debris from kind of falling in there, trees and, or leaves and sticks. And if it rains, you don't want it filling up with rainwater, because the whole point after the end of this is to boil off all of the water, and that leaves you left with the sugar, with a mixture of a little bit of water and sugar, and that's what makes that syrup. So in our case, we've got 3 of these. I have used more in the past, but I think this year we're just going to go with 3. And then finally, I've got these 5-gallon containers that I use to store the sap in every year. So as I empty out those buckets, I'll fill up these 5-gallon containers. So I've got 5 of them. That'll give me 25 gallons of sap, and that will boil down to, like I said, maybe 3 quarts of syrup or so. It depends on the sugar content that in the tree that year. So like I said, this has been a weird winter, so we'll see how much we get. So let's head out to the trees now. I'll show you how to tap them. and then we'll get these hung. We'll get them. We'll start collecting sap, and then we'll probably collect this. I'll go out daily and pour the sap from the buckets into this. Some days you're going to get a lot of sap. Some other days you won't get as much. It kind of depends on the weather that day, the sun that day. Nice sunny days, you're going to produce quite a bit. So I'll collect this for until I can fill all 5 of these, or I'll collect it till probably the end of March. And then usually around the end of March, early April, I'll do a sap boil day where you're just going to sit out there and just watch this thing boil. There are different tools to use. There's evaporators that are made for this stuff. I don't have that, so basically I just pot boil it. You can boil this on your stove in your house. I really wouldn't suggest doing that though, because everything, like you're boiling sticky sap off. There's high sugar content in the steam, and it will make everything sticky. So boil outside if you can. But you can cook on a pot, you can cook on an evaporator, you can cook in a saucepan if you want to. You're not going to get a lot out of it, but it'll take forever, but you could do it. So, okay, let's head outside and let's get these trees tapped. All right, so this is one of my giant maples that I tap every year. You want it where it's going to be, where the sun's going to be hitting it a lot, and unfortunately morning sun I'm not going to get a ton of, but I get a lot of afternoon and evening sun on this side of the tree, so that's the side I'm going to tap. So basically I've got a drill bit the size of the tap. I'm only going to go in maybe about an inch, which is enough to get that tap in. So this is the tap. I'm going to go in about that far. So I'd say maybe about an inch, just over an inch, inch and a quarter, and then this just pushes in. So let's get going on that. So this is the side. This is the hole that I tapped last year. You don't want to do that. So you don't want to drill in the same area, because this essentially kind of scars up the tree a little bit, and sap doesn't run around. So you kind of want to move around a little bit every year just to stay away from your last year's tap. So that's the year before. That's the year before. So let's do it right here. All right, so here's our hole. Looks like I can see in there it's already starting to kind of fill up with sap. It's not running as much as I would hope, but it is cold right now. So we've got that in place. You can see right there it's starting to drip a little bit. So don't worry if that happens. That'll seal up over time because this stuff's kind of sticky, and it will start coming out of the tap itself. All right, assistant, you got a bucket? Thank you, ma'am. So then the bucket just hangs on the hook, and then the lid goes down. What'd you say?
Should we show them what we pulled out?
You gotta speak up a little bit.
Should we show them what I pulled out?
What'd you? Oh, yes, the assistant wants you to know she lost a tooth the other day. How's it feel?
Good.
Let's do the other two.
I got them ready.
All right, you got them ready?
Uh-huh.
That guy's already dripping. I bet I didn't drill that one deep enough over here. Let's see. Oh, we did that last year. We did that last year. you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Yeah, this guy's already juicing up good. This guy gives me a ton every year.
How? You should call these names.
Should give them names, shouldn't I?
Uh-huh.
So you can see right here, this one's already dripping. So this guy's being very productive.
But that's clear.
That's what it's supposed to be. So it starts off clear, like water.
Oh, last year you heated it up.
Yeah, we gotta boil it out, boil all the water out of it.
But how does sap even get made in trees?
So it's the water that comes up from the ground that feeds the trees and brings up water to the canopy to leaf out in the spring. That's what the buds want.
Is the sap all the way up there?
Yep, it goes up the tree during the day, and when it gets warm, it'll go all the way up the tree, all the way to all the branches. Cool?
I wish we had like electronic that we could see what it looks like inside trees.
Be pretty cool, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. 3 trees tapped. That one and that one are just, the last 2 I drilled, those are already dripping pretty good. This guy's not dripping very well at all. So, let's see, are we getting anything out of it? Oh yeah, it just took a minute. So he's running a little slower for sure, but we're getting some sap.
Daddy.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's how we collect sap from maple trees. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning, but you gotta use maple trees, right? Maple syrup, maple trees. I feel like I don't know if I mentioned that, but I feel like I should. How to identify maple trees in the winter? Hopefully you've identified them in the summer, because that's the easiest time, right? Easiest time to identify them is when the leaves are on. Maple leaf looks like Canada.
Oh, Canada.
That's the best time to identify them. Otherwise, and when you do identify them in the spring, look for their bark. Their bark is kind of distinctive. I'll put some pictures up of it somewhere around here. So you can identify it by its bark. Also, you want to look up in the canopy and see, you'll start seeing the buds starting to form. That's when you want to tap it, is just before it buds out. Once it starts budding out and those buds start blooming, you can still collect, but the sugar level will be a lot lower, and some people say that the sap tends to be a little bit more bitter. I mainly found, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I basically go off the weather. When it starts getting too warm during the day, then I usually stop collecting, because the sap will either cloud up a little bit, which is fine. If your sap does cloud up while you're storing it, usually okay. You know, as long as it doesn't get like brown or something, you know, with a real brown hint to it, then it could be going off. Maybe it got too warm. So we're going to collect that sap out there for, you know, like I said, next couple weeks. We're going to fill these up, keep these things cold out here. Hopefully it doesn't get too warm. I do have a fridge, basement fridge, that I can store those in if it does get too warm. But hopefully we can get a good amount. I feel like I'm a little behind this year on starting to collect, so hopefully I can get enough to last me, but we'll see. Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, I would appreciate you can subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment down below if you if I'm doing something wrong, or if you found this useful. But this has worked for me every year, and I haven't died yet from the syrup. I'll show you how to cook it in a future video, probably the end of the month. But I'll show you how to take it, boil it down, at least the way I do it. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways on how to do it. There's these things called evaporators. People get like full on like sheds and commercial properties, and they've got tubes coming from the trees into these big, 50-gallon buckets and vats of sap. So it's definitely a huge industry, but this is more of a hobby type thing if you want to collect enough to kind of just have your own syrup out of your backyard if you have maples. You can definitely do this off of one tree. You don't have to have 3. So it all, like I said, it all kind of depends on the amount and what you want to do. If you collect a gallon of it, you're gonna boil that down. You might get enough for a meal or 2. I don't know, I've never boiled down a gallon, but you might get enough for, 1 pancake breakfast or something. Okay, I have been rambling way too long at this point, so good luck if you're still here. You're awesome. You're like super fan, so I appreciate you still being here. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.